Welcome into episode 33 of the Bestball Fantasy Football Podcast. Tonight, I will be live streaming a $20 Drafters Million NFL Basketball Championship, but also I think what's going to get started first is the $2.22 Drafters Mini, which has 25,000 entries, almost 3,400 so far, and total prize of 50 grand. So if you haven't used the promo code BESTBELL and you haven't jumped into Drafters yet, they will give you a $20 ticket into this $20 Drafters Million NFL Best Ball Championship. So, and they'll, if you deposit for the first time, they'll give you that using the promo code BESTBELL, BESTBELL. Without further ado, we're going to jump into the brand here. Here we go. Okay, so let's go with David Bell to start us out.
This is David Bell, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. You're listening to the Bestball Fantasy Football Podcast.
Once again, I'm Bradley Stalder, and I'll be drafting tonight on Drafters Fantasy. You can follow me on Twitter at FFStalder. I've been crushing a lot of people's hopes and dreams lately with some of my Gabriel Davis hate. Oh, by the way, thank you, Drafters. I just got this in the mail yesterday. I wanted to rep it. Drafters Fantasy Sports came in the mail. Send me a t-shirt. So if any other fantasy best ball teams want me to be doing drafts for them, send me free merch. I'll rep you for sure. So thanks, Drafters. Zach, the CEO there, appreciate you sending me the t-shirt. And we'll get started here in just a second. I think there are 11 filled in the $2.22 one. And then I'll be flipping in between that. And if and when this $20 draft gets underway, there are 8 out of the 12 in that one. So a couple things that have been hitting Twitter lately. One is the Chase Edmonds hype, right? So Chase Edmonds, people have been saying, don't draft him, or he's not a value at running back 36. You should be drafting Chase Edmonds. He's probably going to be, the starting running back, getting most of the touches in that backfield. Okay. So yes, you can draft starting in 2 minutes. So a couple things about drafters. So Jose, thank you for jumping in. Appreciate you. $2.22 best ball draft. Yes, that's the entry. Max entry is $150. So you can spend like $350 and max enter this. There's 25,000 possible entrants. So it's pretty small field. You can max enter it. It's pretty cheap. And if you're not big into max entering like large tournaments, this is definitely one that you should consider. I think, because of the price point, I'm willing to consider max entering this one. As you can tell, this is already my 12th, and I get the 8th spot in this draft. Okay. And there are, if you haven't been on Drafters yet, they will have your active drafts up here at the top in the screen. But also, if you use the app, you can flip and toggle between the different drafts you're in. It's pretty easy to do. It lets you know how close you are to the next draft. So yes, a $2.22 best ball draft. Okay. And 16% of the time you're going to get, that $4 back, and then it's increased all the way up to a total of $25,000 in this in this mini best ball championship. Okay. And so I'll be in this room until the $20 one fills. So might as well get some action here. And this is, I want to say I am ready to start from the 8th spot. And looking at who's going at the 8th spot around that is Derrick Henry, Najee Harris. I've been getting a lot of Najee Harris lately, but I passed on him in one of the FFWC drafts I was doing, or I'm still in with Billy Muzio right now. And I did it more for diversity. Yeah, Najee Harris was there for me at the 112 or the 201, and I took instead CeeDee Lamb and Travis Kelce at that turn. And The analysis of that draft is going to be put on the FFWC site, so check those out. I'm competing against some of the big dogs in the industry, so definitely check out that draft and once it drops, because we're in the middle of it right now, and it's a video showdown format, so that video will be posted on the FFWC YouTube channel. You'll be able to see my beautiful mug talk about Kelsey and CD Lamb at the 1-2 turn. Interesting. So one of the builds that I've been messing around with is an anchor running back, especially with Cup, Jefferson, Chase, and Diggs going off. And I have the 8th spot. It's one thing if I have the 12th spot. And I've been getting a lot of Najee Harris. I've not been getting a lot of Dalvin Cook. We're going to go with Dalvin Cook. As I said, I've not been getting a lot of Dalvin. So, this is more of a diversity pick. I'm not very high on Dalvin. I know that some people in the industry are, but I have reasons for pessimism. He's past the age apex, middle of a second contract. He has had injury issues in the past. The offense seems to be moving toward more pass heavy. He's not going to be getting the 20 plus carries a game like he was before. And, those are my concerns about Dalvin Cook. Ultimately, I think the offense is going to be more efficient, so he's going to have more touchdown regression for sure. But I am concerned about what the offense is going to look like involving Dalvin Cook in 2022, given all of those other factors. Do they have an app? Yes, they do have the Drafters app. So you should just be able to search Drafters Fantasy, and it has a red D and it has a blue star in the middle of it. So you should be able to find that there, Jose. Yep, Drafters Fantasy, and you can do it from the mobile or on the desktop. Great. So we saw Evans and Adams go off, as well as Najee Harris. Joe Mixon made it to the first round in this draft. And if I can get DeAndre Swift here, oh boy, DeAndre Swift would be really nice. But instead, I'm going to pivot as well. I feel like I'm inspired by Derek Brown. I'm going to take Saquon Barkley here. Derek Brown's very high on both Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley. And then I'll just let the wide receivers, I'll just smash wide receiver coming back to me. That's what I'm going to plan to do is what we'll look for. Yeah, so Jose, definitely be using the promo code Bestball. Okay, that gets you an extra ticket into the $20 deal. Okay, extra $20 into this the bigger tournament that they have. It's $1 million total prizes and $250,000 to the winner of. It's a season long as well, so I'll talk about that strategy and some players that I am targeting or avoiding based on this format. It's full PPR, start 3 wide receivers, start 2 running backs, and I'm one of only 2 teams to start running back, and we've seen a lot of wide receivers go off. But there are, some really quality wide receiver 2s that I'm just going to have to be comfortable taking. I've drafted Justin Jefferson here in the first round. I've taken Stephon Diggs. I wanted to mess around a little bit last night in these smaller drafts, and that's what you can do actually in these drafts is mess around with some builds and see what you like or what you feel about if you don't want to commit. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm also in this $20 drafters. So it's pre-draft. I am ready. So I'll be flipping in between just to make sure that, I'm getting the action that I want tonight. So I'm one away in this draft and I'm looking and, oh man, there's like a lot of ugliness when it comes to who I'd want. And Pitts goes off as well. Wow. All right. We're going to go DJ Moore, quarterback upgrade with Baker Mayfield. Thanks, Jose. Appreciate that. Yeah, definitely $2.22. Definitely a more accessible one. And also, like, I like this platform a lot more than the DraftKings platform. You can screenshot the roster at the end and share it out a lot easier. You can look at the board. That's way improved over DraftKings, and you feel like you're not being like, because it's a $2.22 entry, right? that is not going to hurt your bank too much, and it's all good. So I am pre-draft here. I am ready to start, and I'm also in the 8th spot in this $20 one. So there we go. Okay. Yeah, we'll get started. Yes, we can blame Billy for all the leagues we're in. I feel like I'm in a lot of best ball leagues compared to, I think I only did a couple of them last year. Um, so yeah, but now I'm 2 away in this spot. I get DJ Moore, which I'm happy about. And I mean, as long as, oh, well, I shouldn't speak too soon. I want some running backs to go off in these spots, and so that I can take, Deontay Johnson. But Deontay does go there. Wow, I'm like getting pigeonholed here. This is no, I don't want to take Gabriel Davis in round 4. That's ridiculous. There's not a lot of great value, so I'm going to take Breece Hall. Okay, there we go. Yeah, favorite fantasy football format. I have fallen in love with the best ball formats. I think that there are some strategies that have yet to be mined deeper, and that's one of the things I want to continue to do throughout this season and then into the next off season. I wasn't able to get the product out that I wanted to for the Best Ball fantasy football, just because of all the things going on. I got a late start on it too, but nevertheless, it's going to be. I'm hoping to bring out some really cool things coming this next year. So yeah, this is definitely a format that I feel like is very new and not. Um, there's a lot more discovery to happen. Like, we definitely have some data suggesting builds and structures and everything, but there are different ways to play this, right? In your Best Ball Mania 3, which seems a lot of data has been done, and those are limited sample sizes too. But the data that we do have for Best Ball Mania 3 is very different. Is very different than like Drafters season long, or if Drafters drops a super flex structure, or like, how FFWC has their best ball format. The reality is, each of these platforms have not been dug into very deeply. Um, so we think that we know what we're doing, but with the limited sample size from Best Mania 3 and not a lot of other statistical data-driven strategies in other sites, not that we're going in completely blind. Like, the FFPC has like Fantasy Mojo, who gives ADP trends and highs and lows and a lot of other data that way. Like, at least you're not going in completely blind. But I think that there's depths to which Best Ball has not been mined yet. So there we go. Awesome. Yeah, Jose, appreciate you popping in. Absolutely. Oh man, I keep getting sniped on Metcalf and Cooks. I like Rashad Bateman, so I do think that at ADP at 56, I think that's a fine pick. Yeah, I'm really frustrated by. I feel like I'm getting sniped on a lot of these. So nevertheless, let me share. Oh, I am 2 away. Did I already get picked for? I was auto drafted because I was not focused on. So for the 20 million, I took Austin. I was autoed Austin Eckler at that spot. Um, so we're gonna try 2 different builds, and Aaron Jones is there. Who did I take in the last one? I took Barkley, right? I think I took Barkley. Pick now. Well, I will. And I'm going to take Aaron Jones as I like having diversity picks. Okay. I'd really like to be more Barkley heavy, but forcing it right here, it is what it is. Okay. Everyone talks about underdog, but there are others. And I think there's an edge to go to other sites instead of just underdog. Look, the underdog, like, chance to win, like, probability that you make your money back, is a lot lower on underdog than it is for like drafters. And that's just looking at what is the top percentage of entries that get paid back out. Okay, you get more than just your money back, and in drafters it's much higher. It's a higher percentage. So I think there's an edge there. I'm not sure about the other DraftKings of what I don't have the versed payout structure there, but I think that absolutely there are edges to be dug away at on those other sites. Any interesting rules or format settings for drafters? So it's a full PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, and a flex. But instead of a playoff format, and for a playoff format, instead of having that, it is a like week 1 through 17, and each week it's like you're playing for the entire season. So let me make my pick here. And I like Adam Thielen as my wide receiver 3 there. And it allows me to hopefully come back and get Kirk Cousins. Anyways, so the expected value is driven very much toward your weeks 15, 16, 17 in a lot of these formats. Like FFWC is, your seasonal average through 14 weeks, and then week 15 and week 16, week 17. Each of those are, averaged out, and whoever has the most points at the end of that playoff format wins, or an underdog week 17 is so valuable and those correlations matter so much. Or in other like DraftKings, it has the playoff format. That's not the case in drafters. Each week is its own like 6%. Like if you can win just the 6% each week, then you're in good shape. So that's what's a little different about the drafters, is that each week matters more than, well, each week matters the same. So there's not one week that matters more than the others, which is changing your perspective on how you value players. I wrote an article for Fantasy Pros a couple weeks ago about players who I thought were better or worse for the drafters fantasy style or format. And I mentioned like Chris Godwin was worse, but Mike Evans was better in the drafters format. Okay, so this is full PPR, but it's best ball, and I need wide receiver. So we're not going to get sniped on Mike Williams. No way, Jose. Okay. There we go. And yeah, so that's the importance of seeing, like, we know DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out for 6 weeks. Can you afford in the drafters tournament to be taking DeAndre Hopkins at the same spot as you are an underdog? If anything, I would argue that his ADP on underdog should be higher, because he's probably going to be available to you week 17 healthy. And hopefully you've made it, in the regular season without DeAndre Hopkins, but you are guaranteed to not have him for 6 meaningful games, 36+% of the season in, this format. So I am concerned. Yeah. Yeah. So making a profit is what you're interested in. And I think that drafters is, one of those. I haven't this is the first season I'm playing on it, so I hope that I'm going to be profitable, but it's, going to be about learning. So Minnesota, Carolina, yeah, no one here. Let's see, is there anyone ADP that's interesting? Not really. Let's go with an upside pick, since I got sniped on some wide receivers earlier. Michael Thomas. Okay, I am one away here. Yeah, so I think that this gives more opportunity. A higher percentage of people are getting paid out, which I like. It'll increase your chances of getting paid out. Okay, what I'm saying is it's a seasonal league, except it's the best lineup each week. I think that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, there's no playoff structure or format, and you don't have to worry about or obsess over these week 17 correlations or a playoff format or a shootout format. Pick the best players, and not that the averages will average out, but that's kind of how I want to reverse engineer this season and look at the season of what did it take to win? How can I backwards engineer what it took for the wide receiver ones in this group to what kind of players give me wide receiver 1 weeks, what percentage of the time do they do that, and what players can I target in each round to not just get wide receiver 1 weeks, but also like what does a winning team need at their wide receiver 2 spot? What does a winning team need at their wide receiver 3 spot? What is the bare minimum that a winning team needs at their flex, right? And I have some raw data that I've tried to extrapolate a little bit based on last year, but I only have one set of data. So I'll have more information based on all of the drafts that I'll be doing from drafters and other sites. But yeah, I think that this is definitely an opportunity to be making a little bit of the money back at a higher rate, at least. Now, the reason why the underdog drafts don't. Oh, I'm picking now. Hopefully, I didn't run out of time. 24 seconds, and I have some running backs. I could use Dallas Goedert here. That's fine at ADP. Wow, there's not been a lot of value at these drafts. Okay, at any rate, yeah. So there's a higher rate of payout, and the reason why it's a higher rate of payout is because the payout structure is not as top heavy. In underdog, if you win the whole thing, you win $2 million. The top prize in drafters is an eighth of that. So they've got to, how the payout pyramid works. You have to, take things somewhere, and paying out fewer people. That's one of the ways to do it. Okay, so yeah, very good. Yeah, Jose, appreciate all the questions. Finding out more about it myself and some optimal strategies. I've found primarily that I need to go 9 wide receivers because it's a 20-round draft, 30-second timer. It's not like a 1-minute timer like some other sites are. It takes a while on, like FFPC. It's a full minute, and I know that those are higher stakes. And you got to think a little bit deeper. And if you need to do your research, you got to do your research. You got to pivot. But here, $2.22, you're not really like thinking that deeply about stacking. You don't need to, because I'm in like the correlations. So stacking correlations for like week 17, you don't need to do that research, but you do need to recognize that this is a player who I'm valuing. And I think that that's why I do like the drafters. Not that I don't like underdog, really do like the underdog platform and everything going on there, but I like the drafters because it's more player take focused. Like if you hit on a player, you got that player. And it's not going to come down to a week 17 fluke one way or the other. Like the player's been performing all season, then you're going to reap the benefits of it all season. It reduces the variance that a 1-week playoff could happen. Oh, yeah, I'm picking now. 20 seconds. Hey, Justin Herbert's there. I get to stack with Mike Williams. Love it. Yes, get some stacking going. Okay. Yeah, so what other questions do you have there, Jose, or anyone else jumping in the stream? Feel free to ask your questions away. I was able to sneak away from watched an episode of Stranger Things. I just started getting into that. And then I also watched an episode of Only Murders in the Building featuring Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez, which I really like. Season 1 and season 2 is interesting so far. Let's look here and see. I'm very set at running back. I really won't hit running back very hard. I'm going to need some wide receivers, and Chase Claypool here at about ADP. That's fine. My thought with the ADP deal is, in seeing how players rise and fall in ADP, I'm very comfortable just taking the best value here. I mean, you should be taking the best value in February, March, April, May, June, even in July. Just take players at the better values, I think, because there are 2 outcomes. Okay, there are 3 outcomes. One is the player stays at the same ADP, and then you've got a value. The other is that the player increases in value and rises in ADP, and you've just like gained even more value because not only did you get that player, after ADP, but also you got, the value that's associated with that change. But let's say the player gets worse, but you took them after ADP. I mean, there's two like sub options from that. Either the player dropped to where you drafted them or below, and then there's still a value, or you were fine, like you netted nothing, or you lost like a ton of value. But that's probably unlikely. It takes more for a player to lose that value. And the chances that a player loses so much value that now they're not valuable based on how far they dropped in ADP. Like if you get a player 12 spots, 15 spots after ADP, that's a massive value. And it's going to be difficult for the even if that player's value falls and the market falls on that player, to make up that difference is going to be so significant, it's unlikely to happen. Okay, so I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins here to stack with Thielen. That's good. And I'll figure out too if stacking is as important in season long as it is in the underdog. Like, so once I so during the season, one of my projects is going to be inputting all of my best ball teams because I'm not adding anymore during the season, right? It's best ball. They're off-season picks. I'm going to put all my rosters in and just see what trends happen based on what my builds are, what round I got them, what ADP, what value was it. Maybe their win rates more closely associated with players who you took way later. Like those are the types of data that I want to do or find out as different from in each of the platforms as well. So I don't know if I'll be able to do as many the Best Ball Mania 3 because or any of the other underdogs because I'll be out of state. But as I hopefully Michigan number 1 gets back and number 2, I'll be doing some drafts as I go out of state. As I go to Ohio, I'll be going in about a month down to Canton for the Fantasy Football Expo. So if you're going, Jose or anyone else who's watching the stream, if you're going to the Fantasy Football Expo, make sure to stop by, say hi. Love to connect with you, share a beer with you, maybe smoke a cigar with you. That'd be great. But that's I'm going to be doing some drafting there. And also the week after the expo, I'm going to be traveling to Wisconsin. So hopefully Underdog is available in Wisconsin. That would be great. Okay. So, whoa. Oh, did it auto me? It autoed me Kyler Murray. That sucks. Although I get Marquise Brown. So I am all set at quarterback for a long time. I'm looking, and I'm going to go Adam Thielen. Wow. Okay. Adam Thielen seems to be like he's going to be one of my most highly drafted, but that's the problem with doing 2 drafts at the same time while hosting is sometimes you take Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray back to back. Oh, wow. Oh, well. Nevertheless, here we go. 1 away. I'm trying to keep up here. But yeah, so this build so far in the $2.22, I have a 1-3-5-1 build. I took Goddard. Gesicki could be a value for me here, but I'm also looking at, I think Gesicki is going to be the pick. I've been avoiding Gallup and I've been avoiding Godwin in these drafts because you're going to miss them for the vast majority of the season, at least half the season. So it doesn't make sense to me why you would just take zeros for most of it when you're banking on other players being more valuable to you in what is this? What round was Gallup going in? Yeah, Gallup is going in round 11. Gallup going in round 11 or round 12. Yeah, no, I can't do that. Right? I still have 8 or 9 players that I'm depending upon to have him step in for. Okay, I need to take. Let's take Sanders. I know his value's been dropping, but ADP. His ADP was what, 75, and I took him at 90, 89. I mean, even if he says don't draft me in fantasy, he's still going to have a couple spike weeks. And getting him that late, I'm not too worried. There we go. So I'm all set at tight end in the $2.22 draft. I could use another quarterback here, but I don't see any that are fitting my fancy. I think that the spike weeks could be there for DJ Chark. He's not going to come back around to me. So let's go DJ Chark to get my 6th wide receiver in this draft. So in the $2.22 draft, I have a 1-3-6-2 build. And in the $20 draft, I have a 2-3-3-0 build. Lovely. What would your strategy be for your half of this? Yeah, so I'm partly I'm looking to get value in this. I do want to wait a little bit longer on quarterback, but not too long. The ADPs for drafters, the quarterbacks have to fall relative. So if you're using the underdog ADP, I wouldn't use that because it's half PPR and that bumps up quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are more valuable relative to the field. So that's something. It's start 3 wide receiver, just like underdog. So I would be wary of being wide receiver light. Oh, I'd love it if Tyler Lockett came here. So hopefully, hopefully you're not in here, Jose, if you haven't. Okay. Strategy for rounds 11 through 20. In general, running back dries up faster than wide receiver. I would disagree. I mean, I'm in round 9 and Kareem Hunt is here, right? Rashad Penny, Melvin Gordon. Yeah, I love that. But I'm going to take Tyler Lockett here because I need some wide receivers. Okay. And no, I don't think it dries up too badly. And my recommendation for rounds 18, 19, and 20 is, especially in these types of drafts where it's smaller fields, there's less likelihood that someone is going to take a Tristan Ebner or who do I need in this? Detroit, Pittsburgh, no. But I do like, let's go Jameis. I feel like Jameis has a lot of upside here. Okay, so back to the question. What are my... Okay, so rounds 18, 19, 20, you want to take the players like Tristan Ebner and Hassan Haskins and the Mark Ingrams, but rotate through or pick someone super deep on the depth chart that a lot of people aren't going to be drafting a lot of. Not Benny Snell, but like Snoop Connor oftentimes doesn't get drafted in these drafts. So let's go with, we got to take Claypool again. It looks like, or like Raquel Armstead doesn't get drafted at all, but he could carve himself a role with Snoop Connor in that Jacksonville backfield. Who knows? I don't know. We don't know. Could be anybody at this point. If you want to take a Khalil Herbert later on, those are the types of players that you want to just be rotating through. And don't take the same ones every time, but the Isaiah Spillers, the Darrell Hendersons of the world, the Kenneth Gainwells, Tyrion Davis Price. Love taking those types of players at these spots. The Darrell Williams, the J.D. McKissicks of the world, right? We're in round 14, and Gerald Everett is really interesting. But yeah, let's look at all, see if there's any other value. Gerald Everett's very interesting there. Okay, so I've got 3 tight ends. I'm all set at tight end for a while in this draft. I was just so entranced by by Gerald Everett's value. I couldn't help it. Oops. Probably shouldn't have taken 3 tight ends. Might be suboptimal, but I've got 3 running backs, 6 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks. I think I'm all set at quarterback and tight end, so I'm going to draft running backs and wide receivers pretty much the rest of the way. And my recommendation for if you're drafting running backs, just pick your top 10 or 12, and every draft pick a couple of them. Okay. Or 15 if you like Hassan Haskins, or if you want to take a late shot on Julius Chestnut. Or let's look at some of the later running backs too, whose ADP are 0. Take players like a Chuba Hubbard, right? Take Craig Reynolds, rotate through. Take a Justin Jackson. He's unsigned. Those are the types of players. Keyshawn Vaughn is interesting to me. Yeah. Like taking some really late picks at running back that are not being drafted are perfect 19-20 round picks. Okay, so I've got 20 seconds. I've got a 2, 3, 5, 0 build, and Gesicki is going to be the pick here. I love getting Gesicki in round 11. Oh, baby. and behind the likes of Zach Ertz, okay? Yeah, give me Mike Gesicki all day in best ball over Zach Ertz. That's a mistake. Like, Zach Ertz is a perfect back end tight end 1 for redraft purposes. He's going to get you 10, 11, 12 points in PPR. Sure, fine. That's what you want. You want consistency. You don't want to have to worry about a 0 at your tight end spot. Mike Gesicki can get you 20. Mike Gesicki can get you 18. He's a yards after the catch guy. He runs routes like a wide receiver. He's got an offensive upgrade. Tyreek Hill. Yeah, that opens things up. Look at what Travis Kelce was able to do. Now, I'm not saying Gesicki and Kelce are the same exact player, but they play a similar role and they're built similarly. Don't come at me. Anyway, so I have a 2, 3, 5, 1 build. And I have Herbert and Murray, so the Chargers and Cardinals. I think I'm going to take... Oh, wow, I got to pick now. Sheesh. 17 seconds on this one. I need a running back. Marlon Mack it is. Okay. Am I going to get Spiller? Yes, I am. To stack with Herbert. Let's go. Okay, so I've got my 4 running backs, my 5 wide receivers, my tight end in this draft, in this $20 best ball tournament. Struggling to find players that can help differentiate you from the rest of the field. Yeah, so let's keep doing that. While I'm drafting here, let's look at some other players that I would very much consider at the end of your drafts, who are what would we say, 204 and later and 0 ADP. That's the differentiator, is getting players who have the 0 ADP, because most people's eyes, even if they're drafting, will be like, well, at least this player's getting drafted, might as well click them. And that'll bump up their rostership or draft percentage just enough. Yeah. Look at the 0 ADP players. Okay. Okay, we'll do that after my pick because it's coming up. I need some wide receivers at this spot. So let's look. Oh, Curtis Samuel is here. Minnesota and New Orleans are my 2 quarterback stacks. I don't see anything that's particularly close here. But you can search teams. You can use this feature right here on the desktop and search teams. But I want to take Curtis Samuel. I think he's way undervalued and perfect in best ball. Round 16, abso-freaking-lutely. So let's look at some running backs, and then, as I mentioned, some wide receivers. So running backs, I hit on Chuba Hubbard. I hit on Craig Reynolds, Justin Jackson, Raquel Armstead, Keyshawn Vaughn. Yeah, I think those are players that I'm comfortable with at a 0 ADP. Benny Snell, as much as I hate that. Kylan Hill, that's interesting to me. He had very good catching profile, but also if you want to go completely different, there was a Tyler Goodson, undrafted free agent out of Iowa, and he can catch passes really well. So if Dylan or Aaron Jones go down, he could be the pass catching back that's involved. All right. So I've got to get some more wide receivers. I feel like I'm getting a lot of DJ Chark, but here we are. I like his round 13, 14 upside. And that'll give me a chance to go to the wide receivers. So at 204 or later, some of the players that I like for the drafters best ball tournament, Isaiah McKenzie, of course, because he's on Buffalo. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Yes. Donovan Peoples-Jones. This should not, okay, maybe this is a hot take. It shouldn't be too hot of a take, though. My take is that Donovan Peoples-Jones outscores Amari Cooper this year. And based on my projections, even though I have Cooper at a higher target share, Donovan Peoples-Jones' yards per reception is just so much higher than Amari Cooper. And he catches touchdowns, and Amari, they catch touchdowns at about the same rate. So I think that the yards go to Cooper, or go to the yards go to Donovan Peoples-Jones. The receptions go to Amari Cooper, and they split the touchdowns. And David Njoku sucks from both of them. So I love getting that player, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Jalen Tolbert, absolutely. He'll emerge pretty quickly, and I got to pick now on this one too. I'll talk more about them in just a second. Let's see here. I need... no, not Duvernay. This is a good... Might as well just take DPJ a little early at that spot. Okay. So yes, Donovan Peoples-Jones, that's my smoking hot take of the night, is that Donovan Peoples-Jones is the wide receiver you want in the Cleveland Browns offense now that we know it's going to be Jacoby Brissett probably. And I projected Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback for the whole season in my projection. You can check out my Twitter. I posted it last night about most of the meaningful Browns projections. So there we go. Let's keep looking at some of the wide receivers that I would be interested in just a moment. Laviska Shenault, obviously. His player profiler comp is A.J. Brown. He had like 100 targets last season, didn't catch a touchdown. That's bound to change. I mean, you have to take Laviska Shenault if you believe in the elevation of this Jacksonville offense. Zay Jones could do his thing. Christian Kirk could do his thing, and Laviska Shenault could do his thing. And I think the odd man out could be Marvin Jones. And Marvin Jones moving to a better offense or a different offense that could use him, that'd be great. But I think Marvin Jones probably is the odd man out. Or maybe it's Shenault who's the odd man out and he gets traded and gets a better opportunity somewhere else. Either way, Shenault is someone you should be considering, and he just got sniped. I just got sniped on Shenault. Lovely. All right, Zamir White. Let's draft some Zamir White. Okay. So let's look at the wide receivers that are getting undrafted, or at least at 204 or later. Cedric Wilson. Yes, Yes, give me Cedric Wilson. He's one of only 8 wide receivers over the last 2 seasons to have increased his rate of wide receiver 1 weeks in both seasons. So from one season to the next, he's done that for 2 consecutive seasons. One of only 8 players. AJ Brown, Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson are a few others. So he's in good. Terry McLaurin, he's in good company. Late round picks. Justin Ross, especially if you've got the Patrick Mahomes. Justin Ross is very interesting to me. Okay. And let's look at all. I need a running back, and he stacks with Kyler, so that works. Okay, good. And undrafted, Khalif Raymond, spike week potential. If you want to take a last round dart and stacking in Detroit, super duper cheap. I know that DJ Chark, but if you're out on DJ Chark and you think that DJ Chark isn't the real deal, Khalif Raymond had a couple spike weeks. Both Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds. So they combined for 5 top 18 wide receiver weeks last year. Now, if you believe in Shenault, that Chenault's going to get all those, which I do, but if you believe that, he's not going to, then pivot and just include Khalif Raymond once out of every how many drafts that you do, 1%, 2% share, but maybe he's on that one team that can get you an extra couple points and gets it over that hump. Amir Smith-Marset, love Amir Smith-Marset. Deontay Harris, that's interesting to me. Okay, I'm picking right now. We'll go back down in a second. I need some more wide receiver. Kendrick Bourne. Yep, we need some Kendrick Bourne on this team. Absolutely, we do. Let's look at some other wide receivers that could be of interest. I mentioned Dante Pettis in a tweet a couple days ago. If you want some some Chicago Bears, because Dante Pettis is now on the Bears. And if you don't like Byron Pringle, you don't trust that the Pringle jingle will bring you the money, then pivot to Dante Pettis. Okay, Marquise Goodwin had a couple boom weeks, and he's a high ADOT type of player. And these are just players that have 0 ADP. So, of course, the reason why they're going at 0 ADP is because there are serious concerns. But I'm just throwing out some players that have shown spike weeks in the past. Okay. All right. I'll probably want one more running back, and Hassan Haskins is. I'm drafting so much Hassan Haskins, it's kind of disgusting. He's on Tennessee. He's a bruiser. He's built like a smaller Derrick Henry, runs between the tackles. Not much of a pass catcher, but fits the mold of what Tennessee wants in their running backs. So if Henry goes down again, Hassan Haskins probably going to be the backup there. Okay, let me flip back to this one. We're in round 18, and I have this is the $20 drafters. 18, 19, 20. Yeah, did Mayfield get picked? Yeah, he got picked in round 17 in this draft. Yes, so let's see. Jose, I saw you're positive on Mayfield late round quarterback pick in Bestball. Yep, think so. If you're believing in DJ Moore, then tack on a cheap Baker Mayfield at the end of your drafts. I think that he's going to be more of a mid-end quarterback too, but he's got higher quarterback two potential. Okay, 15 seconds. Let's take another shot at wide receivers here. DPJ is still there in this draft. Heck yes, round 17, DPJ. Late round quarterback pick in Bestball. Yep, I think so. Robbie Anderson will get a 20% share. DJ Moore probably gets 28% share. The tight ends are nothing to look at all in Carolina. It's going to be McCaffrey. It's going to be DJ Moore. It's going to be Robbie Anderson. And I'm not optimistic about another wide receiver stepping up. So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe Terrace Marshall does take a step forward, but I'm not optimistic about that. All right, we're last round pick, and I need a a 0 wide receiver. Let me look at just one of those last round plays. One of them, who did I have? Kirk Cousins in this stack? Yes. Let's go Emir Smith Marset as a last round pick. Okay, so I finished this. Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston are my two quarterbacks. Dalvin, Barkley Hall, Mac, White, Haskins. We're going to close that out because I still got a pick. 23 seconds. We're in round 18. I need another tight end, and I like Brevin Jordan as a tight end option. Where would I take Mayfield in a super flex best ball draft? Okay, so let me see if I can pull up my rankings here. It'll, I think, buy me some time to, because I have not updated my rankings on Fantasy Pros quarterback rankings. So let me look and see where I would roughly put him. Okay, so Mayfield I had at quarterback 28 at this time, and like before the trade. And probably, I think he's in the Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Davis Mills area. So quarterback 22 to 24. But I think that he has the chance to be in the quarterback 14 to 17 range. That's what I'm thinking. Like, that's probably a ceiling as a high-end quarterback too. I could see him 13, 14, 15 as like his ceiling, and then his floor is quarterback 25. So if you can get him somewhere in that range, I'm happy with it. I wouldn't reach too far on Baker Mayfield. I feel like there's not an edge to be gained by waiting. He's in that tier. Like, if you are at the end of that tier and he's the one available, take him. If there's obviously a drop off, you want to take your Baker Mayfield. But I'm not being super aggressive about him. It's just that how the numbers are shaken out. I like how the numbers are shaken out for him that way. Okay. So I've got a 2-5-9-2 build. My quarterbacks are Herbert and Murray. Those aren't going anywhere. I've got Eckler and Mike Williams. So I could use another tight end maybe. Uzama's not getting the love that I wanted to hear. Conklin will probably come back around to me. Let's go with one more wide receiver maybe. I'm running out of time. Draft Chenault. Come on. There we go. I got Chenaulton. Okay, there we go. So I got Laviska Shenault in round 19, and then round 20. I'm all set at tight end. I could probably use another running back though. Hassan Haskins is staring at me. Another running back that I'm interested in is Benjamin, Tyler Beatty. The Baltimore backfield is extremely ambiguous. So Tyler Beatty could carve out a role pretty quickly. He was one of the best pass catching running backs coming out of this draft. His player profiler comp is Gio Bernard, which, if you remember from the early Cincinnati days of Andy Dalton, Gio Bernard was a top 12, top 15 running back for a few years, getting run between the tackles and catching passes. So I like Tyler Beatty, but once again, I can't pass up Hassan Haskins at this spot. It's just round 20, Hassan Haskins. Okay. So I got kind of screwed over by the auto pick, but still fine ADP wise, I guess. Justin Herbert was 11 spots after ADP, which value. Kyler Murray was 3 spots after ADP. Austin Eckler was 3 spots after ADP. Jones was at ADP. Aaron Jones was. Miles Sanders was 13 spots after ADP. Isaiah Spiller was 2 spots above ADP. Darrell Williams was 15 spots after ADP. Hassan Haskins, 15 spots after ADP. Mike Williams was 3 spots. Marquise Brown was 2 spots. Adam Thielen, 15 spots after ADP. Chase Claypool, 10 spots after ADP. Tyler Lockett, 12 spots after ADP. I was getting value and value, value. So I think that even though I got kind of screwed over by that auto pick, all of this value was here for me. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones was a reach by 8 spots. Every other player aside from Isaiah Spiller, who was a reach for 2 spots, every other player was massive values combined. So I think this was, even though I got screwed over with the auto pick, I think that that's going to be enough value to hopefully recalibrate me. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm off. But I think getting all of these values way after ADP, I'm competing against a lot of other teams that are picking these players at ADP. So I like it. Yeah. So if you liked drafting with me and you want to learn more about Drafters Fantasy, definitely use the promo code BESTBELL. Okay. And that is, that will give you a free $20 ticket to this $20 Drafters Million Best Ball Championship if you deposit for the first time in Drafters. And Jose is asking, are those the only 2 best ball drafters offers? Those are the only 2 GPP tournaments, but you can have, there are like individual ones that they will open up one at a time. So there's a $1.10 fast 12-person draft, and there's a total prize of $12. And you can see that the breakdown is, where is it? Sites rolling scoring. Maybe that's not it. No, where is it? Yeah, so there we go. First prize, so it's a $1.10 entry. Winner gets $7.20. So they like 6.5x their winnings in this 12-person league. Second place gets $3, and third place gets their money back plus 70 cents. So there we go. Awesome. Jose said, I'm convinced I'll use your promo code sign up. Thank you, Jose. Appreciate that. As I said, there are other, there's bigger stake ones as well. There's $55 3-person drafts. There's $530 3-person drafts, both fast and slow. So if, depending upon what you want to do, you can do that. There's $11 entries, $22 entries, $55, $109 entries. So there aren't as many, as other sites possibly, but there's lower stakes that makes it more accessible to players who don't have all the high stakes, but do want to just draft and put a little bit of money on it, and it's not nothing. You do put a little bit of money in on, this is, what you want to do. So there's the $2.22, the Drafters Mini, which I was flipping between, and the $20 Drafters Million NFL Best Ball Championship. So why don't I look at look at the teams I drafted and just offer a few final thoughts before I leave you tonight. So the $2.22 draft, this was my 12th draft. View the draft. And this was, let's see, my team. Oh, maybe I didn't want to click on that one. Okay, so my team was Jameis Winston at quarterback. Really? No, I had other. Oh, they had the projections. I think that's why. Let me look at the league. I'm just messing around here. All right, let's go back to my team. All right. So the $2.22 view the draft. And I was the pick 8. So that was not the one I did today. That was not the most recent one. Let's go to my teams. View draft. There we go. This was the Kirk Cousins one. Yeah, so I went Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, DJ Moore, Breece Hall, and I got sniped on Deontay Johnson, Cortland Sutton. I really wanted one of those. And there's just such a teardrop from Deontay Johnson down to even Allen Robinson, Jerry Jeudy, Gabriel Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, Darnell Mooney. I didn't want to reach that far on Brandon Cooks. I mean, he almost made it all the way back to me. You know, that's what pisses me off sometimes. Anyways, so Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, and I took Michael Thomas. I mean, I looking at who was later, Christian Kirk. I was staring down Allen Lazard. I couldn't do those. I couldn't draft those players, so instead, I took the player who had upside, I thought, and could maybe compensate for the loss or the snipage that happened earlier in the rounds. And I got Breece Hall. You know, it's not like I love Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is one of those running backs that should definitely be considered in, you know, that 3-4 turn. And that's where I took Breece Hall in my most recent FFWC draft with Billy Muzio and Draft Sharks, and the pod father himself is also in that draft, and Pat Fitzmaurice from Fantasy Pros. There's a lot of awesome players. Josh Larkey from 33rd Team is there. There's a lot of players in that FFWC draft that are really high stakes, and I'm competing against, and I took Breece Hall in that draft at the 3-4 turn. So I like Breece Hall, Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, Goddard after Michael Thomas. And then Thomas is iffy. I agree, but he's high risk, high reward. And maybe I lose out because of that pick, but at least we saw him running routes. There is video of him running routes now, so that's good. If I start wide receiver heavy, yeah, in the FFWC draft, I went Travis Kelce and CeeDee Lamb at the 1-2 turn. And then the 3-4 turn, I took, who did I take? I took Breece Hall and Cortland Sutton. I like Cortland Sutton there too. So that was, I thought, the right spot for them. Nevertheless. Okay. So after that, I went Goddard, Claypool, Cousins, Gesicki, DJ Chark, Jameis Winston, Gerald Everett. I like Everett. You know, I like Goddard as well. One of those three is always going to give me a really high ceiling tight end week in full PPR. Marlon Mack, I needed to get a fourth running back. Same as Zamir White, Hassan Haskins. But I tried to fill in with more spike weeky type of wide receivers. So DJ Moore, Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, Chase Claypool, I think is more a high spike week type of wide receiver than Deontay Johnson is more consistent. Consistently a wide receiver too. Chark has the ceiling. Curtis Samuel, we've seen wide receiver 1 weeks from him before. Donovan Peoples-Jones, if you listened earlier, about 20 minutes earlier, I talked at length about Donovan Peoples-Jones and how I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Cleveland, or at least it's going to be 50-50 between him and Amari Cooper. It's going to be a lot closer than people think. And then Amir Smith-Marset to stack with Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen. So that correlation of Minnesota wide receivers there. Okay, cool. So I like my build. I think the only thing that I would have done is pushed tight end a little bit further. I'd rather get Brevin Jordan a couple rounds later, but Gerald Everett's still pretty nice. Not going to hate on that. And then let's go to my teams, the $20 league. That's where I was auto-picked. Oh, man. I hope y'all can forgive me for that auto-pick. It's killing me here. Okay, crushing, absolutely crushing. This was my 6th $20 one, and I started with view draft. Yeah, so I started with Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones. Actually, was auto-picked twice. Austin Eckler, I was auto-picked, but I didn't hate that pick at pick 8, about at his ADP. and then Aaron Jones coming back around. So I've got 2 pass catching backs in a full PPR. And then I go Mike Williams, Marquise Brown in rounds 3 and 4. And then I get their correlating stacks. I get Justin Herbert, who stacks with Eckler and Mike Williams. And I got Kyler Murray to stack with Marquise Brown. Love it. Great. I didn't touch quarterback the rest of the way. So yes, Kyler Murray was the auto pick. So you can give me a little bit of crud about that. But I was managing 2 drafts at the same time and hosting this. So you got to forgive me a little bit. Adam Thielen, once again, you'll notice the Thielen theme. Miles Sanders, I felt, was a value at 89. His ADP was 75, and I think that's the result of him saying, don't draft me. So I drafted him. Tyler Lockett at 104. Chase Claypool at 113. Yeah, I like that. Gesicki, once again, you'll start noticing that there are players who I'm drafting more because I recognize they've got more spike week potential than other players going around that spot. Like as I mentioned, I said before, Gesicki over Ertz 10 out of 10 times in best ball, especially given that Ertz is going ahead of 13 spots, more than a round ahead. So give me Gesicki in best ball leagues. Isaiah Spiller fits the backup Austin Eckler role. And I know that I shouldn't have stacked, but maybe in season long, that's not as bad of a concern. You know, Isaiah Spiller still unsure of what his role is going to look like in this Chargers offense, but I want pieces of it. I'm not going to be against getting Chargers on my team. DJ Chark, once again, around 13 value, my 152nd overall. And he's going to run the Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds routes that we saw were useful from time to time. Jalen Tolbert's going to get an immediate role right away in this Dallas offense. I projected him to have the 3rd most targets on the team behind Dalton Schultz and CeeDee Lamb. Jalen Tolbert, round 14. And then Darrell Williams is stacked with Kyler Murray. Kendrick Bourne is just a value in round 16. Not going to hate on that. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I mentioned that before. Brevin Jordan. I mean, if there's a second pass catcher on this Houston offense, maybe it's Nico Collins, maybe it's Brevin Jordan for Davis Mills. Brevin Jordan had a few nice spike weeks last year and was a top 10 tight end, a few of those after he started getting work behind Jordan Akins. And Akins is not on the team anymore. So I like Brevin Jordan round 18, especially with Mike Gesicki as my other tight end. Laviska Shenault. Can't hate on Shenault this late, around 19, especially if you expect a faster paced Jacksonville offense. Trevor Lawrence taking a step forward. This offense for Jacksonville is going to be a lot better. And you know that Doug Peterson's going to try to get the ball into his talented players' hands. They didn't have a lot of great wide receivers in Philadelphia. They had Alshon Jeffrey, but that was pretty much it. Wide receiver wise, it was Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert when Peterson was there. So what did they do? They got the ball into Ertz's hands. They got the ball into Alshon Jeffrey's hands. They got the ball into Goddard's hands, and good things happen. I think Laviska Shenault is still a really talented player, just unlucky with the touchdowns. And so around 19, I think he can offer some interesting weeks. Week 19, but he's also competing against a lot of other spike week candidates. I don't need very much from Shenault. And then Hassan Haskins. If you're not drafting Hassan Haskins round 19, round 19, round 20, I don't know what to tell you. He needs to be one of those late round considerations. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate all of you watching. And thanks to Drafters Fantasy for the t-shirt. Just got it in the mail yesterday, repping the brand. So if you're underdog and you're watching, send me some merch. If FFWC, you know what to do. Like, I'm willing to rep your merch. So Drafters, I appreciate you sending me a t-shirt that I can rep on the podcast, and use promo code BESTBELL, all one word, BESTBELL, and that'll give you a free entry with a first time deposit of $20 or more in this $20 Drafters Million Best Ball Championship. And that's a better deal than all of your buddies' other promo codes. They're giving like $10 for a $10 bonus. Like, this doubles it up to 20. into this tournament where you could win $250,000. So definitely take a look into it. And if you just want to do one of these, okay, fine, do one of them and then play like 9 of the $2.22 ones, okay? And compete against me. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun this off season. It's July, and I'll be drafting the rest of July and August, and even as we get close to kickoff. So I appreciate all of you stopping in, especially Jose, who was very active. So thank you, Jose, for watching and supporting the podcast, and all of you as well who are watching. It's been great being with you tonight. If you haven't checked out the new website, go to www.bestballfantasy.com. I have some things up there already. I don't have any products yet, but I'm going to be working on that shortly. And there we go. So if you also haven't checked out, I've been putting a lot of shorts on, like the short clips on both the TikTok. So check me out on the TikTok. Check me out on, and you can find on Best Ball Fantasy on TikTok. I put some shorts on there, some Baker Mayfield love / hate. Also on the YouTube, a few of those have been hitting pretty hard. And I appreciate all of the support you've been showing and the questions that you've been posing in the chat. So that'll do it for today's pod. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the Best Bell Fantasy Podcast, make sure you do wherever you listen to your podcasts, and make sure to check out Best Bell YouTube channel, where I'll be doing live drafts like this throughout the off season, also offering study halls and analysis. And I'll be doing updates on my projections, giving thoughts about each of the teams throughout the off season. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at FFStalder. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. In the meantime, good luck in the best ball streets.